Yesterday it was a two-part video about a Nike Dunk High, and then on top of that we did some channel talk, and today we're going to do another two-part video, but this time it's all about the Olympics. I am in Tokyo, Japan, and that means I've got front row seats for the Olympics, or as much as you can have front row seats when there aren't any spectators in the house. And there's a lot to talk about from inside the country, but we're going to save all that for the end, because first we do the shoes. It's all about sneakers at this channel, always has been, always will be, and always about upcoming sneaker releases. So I was thinking, you know, the Olympics, what shoes out there represent that? And we found this beautiful Reebok Question Mid Team USA, and I thought, you know what, that's the shoe to talk about. Look at the details on it, some surprising, some actually very high quality, and some very unique as well. And then into the talk about the Olympics and what's going on right here in Tokyo, Japan. Day 2, as I'm shooting this video, by the time you're watching it, it's probably day 4 or day 5, and much has probably happened since right now. But a lot of it will be very, very relevant, because what's going on the ground here is there's pretty much 50-50 about whether people are really into the Olympics or not, and we'll get into that after we've got into this. So here we go with the question mid. Team USA. First things first, I'm pretty sure, like 99% sure, that this guy is not an official Team USA shoe, nor was it an official Team USA shoe in 2004, which was 17 years ago, which was 4 or 5 Olympics ago. We're talking about the Olympics in Athens, when Team USA had Allen Iverson on it, and Allen Iverson is the name that goes with the question mid. One of the greatest players of all time. He was, I think he was 5'10" or something like that. Maybe he was bigger than that, but he was just smaller than all the other players out at the time. And somebody, I think it was Kobe Bryant, said, you know, we'd all be busted if Allen Iverson was any taller, because he was one of the greatest players, and he actually, with Reebok, has one of the greatest lines of shoes. And this question mid is probably right at the top of the tree when it comes to those shoes. So getting into this one today, there's some really neat details on it, and some surprising details, and also some great plays on that Team USA. So first things first, we'll go with that Team USA feel, red, white and blue, but very much in this shoe it's much more red, silver and blue, and that's very evident when you look at the branding on the lateral side, which hopefully is behind me here, and you can see the red and the blue outlined in silver. And that made me think, you know what, I wonder what that team did in 2004. Maybe they didn't get a gold, maybe they got a silver. So I did a quick bit of research. It turns out they lost 3 games, which for Team USA in basketball is an absolute disaster, and they took home the bronze medal, which again, very unusual for Team USA, especially since they started allowing pro basketball players into the basketball and into the Olympics. Before that, it was always just amateurs, and it was much more level playing field. But as soon as you go pro, and you've got people like Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, stuff like that coming out of the Dream Team in the 90s. But come 2004, not so strong, lost 3 games, took home the bronze medal. At least it's a medal, if nothing else. But then I thought, when I was looking at the shoe, I didn't know all that history, and I was thinking, I wonder if they took home the silver medal. But that isn't why there's a bunch of silver on the shoe, but it's an interesting sort of little detail on these guys. Speaking of little details, let's go to the heel, because there's 2 pretty big details going on there. One is up high on the heel, there's a real quilted effect, which I don't think you usually see on question mids. I've done a lot of question mids, and about half, if not more, are collaborations. Like there's a Minions collaboration, and there's a Candyland collaboration, a bunch of collaborations, but then also, and then what was that one? It was recent, it was a Power Rangers Megazord collaboration, and then you also get the sort of standard ones like these guys. And that padded effect, that kind of quilted effect around the ankle, is something I don't think I've seen before. And then lower than that on the back, we always see a little disc at the very bottom there. Usually a standard question mid would have the number 3 in there to go with Allen Iverson, but apparently in the 2004 Olympics he wore the shirt number 4, so down at the bottom of the heel in this section there, you can see it says a 4 instead of a 3. And that's not too far away to go around from there and have a look at the lateral side, because of the hexalite units on the side. That's where you get your soft padding, which is super essential when it comes to basketball shoes. And this is a real neat detail that I haven't seen before in a question mid. Doesn't mean to say it hasn't happened before, I just haven't seen it. But looking through that hexalite, you can see it's actually got a 2-tone effect in there. I would guess it's red, which is obvious, and then a deeper blue to go with the red, white and blue of the American flag and the American colours. But I'm not 100% sure that second deeper colour could be black. but I am very sure about that two-tone effect fore and aft, because there's a hex light unit at the front as well, and both of them come in this kind of two-tone effect when you look in from the side. So another neat little detail on these guys. And since we're kind of doing a sort of 360 of the shoe, we might as well go to the front end, to the toe. Toes are important when it comes to question mids, because often that's how you get the name of the shoe. For example, the question mid yellow toe, unsurprisingly, had a yellow toe, and on these guys it's very much a white toe on the front end. It's not called the white toe, of course, it's called the Team USA, but that kind of neatly takes us onto the laces if we go on that 360-degree route around the shoe. And this is where I was surprised. I was expecting a little bit more, because the lace loops that run down the lateral and the medial sides of the shoes often have details on them, and they sometimes spell out a different word than Reebok or have different branding on them Reebok, but these ones sadly have neither of those. They have Reebok itself on the lateral side, which hopefully you can see here, 6 lace loops, 6 letters in Reebok, R-E-E-B-O-K, fits in nice. And then on the medial side, you'll see instead of hand letters in there, it has the Reebok logo in all 6 of the lace loops. What it doesn't have is anything about Team USA or the Olympics. That's what I was kind of looking for. I was looking for some kind of detail on there that would raise these guys above the standard sort of question mid-fair that you would get. But that isn't to be. But what is to be is the outsole on these guys. Always an interesting point on question mids, often translucent. In the case of these guys, the deep blue of the Team USA doesn't stop the translucence from coming through, and you can see that semi-translucent effect on the outsole of these guys, looking through as usual to the Reebok branding within that. So that's a nice little detail to finish up the shoe. I'm pretty sure I'm done. Maybe the lining is worth looking at and seeing the red on there, because it's one of the only places that has a lot of red to balance out the blues and the silvers and the whites on the rest of the shoe. But that's pretty much it. The whole shoe there in a nice little nutshell, tied together with a little bow and presented to you guys out there if you're interested in your Reebok question mids. But also, if you're interested in the Tokyo Olympics, sitting right here in Tokyo, Japan, this is something that we've been watching day 2 now. And by day 2, I mean the 3rd day since the opening ceremony. So opening ceremony, day 1, day 2. On day 1, Japan got 1 judo gold, but then today added 4 to that. 1 in the pool, 1 in the skateboards, which maybe you've seen on the street skateboarding, and then 2 more in the judo. So Japan has 5 golds right now, but still, there's still a lot of negativity about the Olympics here. A lot of people are worried about coronavirus, even though there's no spectators there. There's something like 10 to 15,000 people coming into Japan in terms of journalists and coaches, and of course the athletes themselves. So there's still that concern, and every day in the news, every single day in the news, there's a big segment about the athletes' village. How many people have actually been diagnosed as a coronavirus? How many people are close contacts and that kind of stuff? And the Japanese football team, soccer, if you know what I mean, were playing against South Africa a couple of days ago, and like 16 players on the South African team had been deemed close contacts and stuff like that. So there's still that negativity about coronavirus and the Olympics. People are wearing masks all over the place, of course. Medal ceremonies with people wearing masks and not getting the medal around their neck. They're actually having to pick it up themselves off the tray and stuff like that. So as you know, as far as it goes here in Japan, a great successful start to the games. First 2 days of 5 gold medals already. I think the target is 30, which is kind of low for a home nation, but would be more than, or almost double the best gold medal haul that Japan has ever seen. So it's been a great start in those terms, but still, that's not enough to sort of tip the balance here. People are still concerned. Numbers are still rising, over 1,000 a day in Tokyo, which doesn't seem like much to most people. I mean, in the UK, it's been tens of thousands every day, and that UK has like half the population of Japan. So it's still in the thousands, but people are trying to keep it that way, and they're trying to keep the numbers down. And rather than cure this thing or have a disaster that you sort of fix, they're trying to prevent it from becoming that disaster that we've seen in many parts of the world. So the Olympics off to a great start. Lots of gold medals for Japan already, but still the people on the street are actually kind of still worried about what's going to happen. Is this going to be a super spreader event? Are we going to see a real spike in cases? And is it going to affect the normal Japanese person on the street rather than these athletes and their crews and their teams? So that's the way things stand. Hopefully that sort of mash up with the Reebok question mid Team USA and an update about day 2 of the Olympics kind of sits well together. Hopefully you guys appreciate that kind of content, and hopefully you're appreciating the channel. Thank you very much for checking in. The only thing left to do is to tell you that I do this every single day. And because I do it every single day, that means that you are guaranteed to see me tomorrow.